A recent church function attracted a lot of attention when Chrisean Rock arrived with her nearly 2-year-old child. While some were talking about her latest song, most were concentrating on her child, not on his looks or attire, but on the bitter feeling that something was missing. Those who knew Chrissy and her family quickly noticed the change since the child seemed to be stuck in a time capsule, not much different from the earlier images that had been shared on social media months before. Instead of a happy mother displaying a healthy child, the atmosphere of the gathering was one of tension and discomfort, of progress or expansion. Worse, he seemed detached from the outside world, stayed mostly motionless, and avoided making eye contact. A video showing Chrissy carrying her son into the church was released, prompting a doctor who had no connection to the family to publicly express his professional opinion. According to the specialist, delaying treatment could prevent the infant from ever learning to talk. Rather than being mere conjecture, this expert opinion was a sobering assessment that swiftly spread throughout online discussion boards, causing concern. I was reminded of Blueface's when the mother decided to live stream her first moments after giving birth on Instagram. Viewers saw some subtle but concerning symptoms in her baby. The baby barely moved his head, showed no interest in his surroundings, and responded to the environment with little engagement. Despite this, the mother seemed grateful and content. Even though his anxiety was growing, his cry was a sharp scream instead of the typical quiet whimper, which only made his worries worse. On tape, Chrisean Rock repeatedly said her child was okay. The baby's wailing echoed in the background, upsetting many viewers, and they couldn't help but notice that she even defended getting Blueface's name permanently inked on her body. Concerning signs that the kid was not being neglected emerged as he progressed at 8 months. He showed little interest in eating, and he rarely responded when a spoon was put close to his mouth. Worried followers asked why the child was so lethargic, and why he wasn't meeting age-appropriate milestones in the majority of their remarks, which were valid. In reaction, Chrissy went on the defensive, denouncing the comments as hate speech and unwarranted drama. Despite doctors' assurances that everything was well, she denied claims that her infant couldn't speak, smile, or hold his head up, stating that the lack of any supporting documentation left many unclear of the actual circumstances. A small head, low-set ears, and a flat facial profile were among the physical characteristics that observers noted, which led them to hypothesize that his odd sobbing might be related to withdrawal symptoms. The intermittent social media posts from Chrissy made everything more challenging. She would have offered proof to allay the mounting anxieties, according to others, if the medical staff had comforted her. According to Blueface, who shared a post congratulating the boy on his quick recovery, Chrissy postponed surgery for their son's hernia until the condition deteriorated. However, everything appeared to go wrong once more after she published a video. As her baby's first birthday approached, the unsteady, uneasy steps, rather than allaying worries, intensified them. Instead of seeing a healthy, growing child, they saw a sickly, aloof boy who was isolated from his social environment. In addition to lacking the curiosity and enjoyment typical of youngsters his age, the boy's movements were almost forced, as if he were being compelled to demonstrate growth in front of others. There were questions about whether Chrissy was exploiting her kid to keep Blueface famous, and her relationship with him shifted from one of criticism to one of genuine concern. As they get ready to enter their second year of life, toddlers usually investigate. Given how distressing the situation was for her and her son, some conjectured that Chrissy's drive to become pregnant was driven less by maternal instincts and more by her desire to maintain a failing relationship. Most of the comments were supportive rather than negative. Some questioned Chrissy's parenting and expressed worries about whether the boy is doing well. One of Chrissy's close friends, who had known her in the past, later came up to disclose a personal side of exhaustion and frustration that was hidden beneath her public demeanor. As the child's condition received more attention, Chrissy remained in denial and refused to seek help, even though she seemed overwhelmed. Eventually, she stopped sharing pictures and videos of her child online, which many felt was long overdue and essential to providing for his needs. Although many people who loved Chrissy and her son unexpectedly backed the decision, it was evident that the child had not changed much from his peers when they resurfaced at a church function. He was emotionally distant, silent, and motionless, a terrible image that exacerbated fears. Numerous people think that Chrissy's drinking, smoking, and fighting with Blueface during her pregnancy were the direct causes of the child's health issues. Chrissy has acknowledged that she has doubts about being a mother, and even mentioned abortion, but the baby's condition was unavoidable after delivery. Clarissa Blueface, Chrissy's mother and long-standing critic, also expressed her disappointment after witnessing her grandson's inability to identify the child she had hoped for. Chrissy's son's declining health seemed to conflict with her public life, which featured music promotions and inspirational posts. In spite of the growing worry that brought together allies, doctors, and total strangers to insist that she prioritize medical care, Chrissy persisted in dismissing any worries, claiming that she was strong and that everything was okay. Help, not more public spectacles, was what this child needed. Many found her comments to be incredibly moving as they highlighted the pressing need for honesty and compassion outside of social media and celebrity. This child's story transcends the typical public spectacle and celebrity drama. The fact that a young child never voluntarily chose to become involved in such mayhem serves as a powerful reminder of the awful realities that instability and neglect can impose. Although he did not choose to be born into a world of uncertainty where his parents' hardships and personal conflicts come before his needs, he must deal with the consequences of choices made long before he really was raised in a turbulent, conflict-ridden, and publicly critical environment. Unbeknownst to him, the grown-ups in his life have completely made up the plot that revolves around this child. Because his mother, Chrissy, made her pregnancy and early motherhood experiences public, she exposed herself and her child to the harsh criticism and high expectations that come with being famous, and his surroundings have been unstable from the start. It was made worse by her turbulent relationship with Blueface. Records of her drinking, smoking, and fighting while pregnant sparked criticism and worries that she put appearance above health. The unborn child's health was mostly overlooked throughout all of this chaos, and almost 2 years later, he is still dealing with the consequences of those hasty decisions. At an age when most kids are ready to explore, talk, and mature, his remoteness and withdrawal are a warning sign of something much more serious than developmental delays. More than just voicing their ideas, concerned voices are calling for acceptance of a child who finds it difficult to interact with the outside world on both an emotional and physical level. What Chrissy is willing to do for her son's future is more important than her public defenses and the critiques she received online. She put aside her need for attention and her immaculate looks, acknowledged the fact that her child requires immediate medical attention. The longer she ignores the issue, the more likely it is that she will sustain long-term harm. Early intervention may alter a life, and Chrissy's refusal to accept the severity of her son's condition only serves to increase anxiety and uncertainty. However, every child should have the opportunity to thrive. Her avoidance of confrontation suggests that she is still hiding behind a well-crafted internet persona. In this developing story, Blueface, the child's father, has also played a significant role. He has occasionally stepped into the public at large to express their thoughts on the topic. His occasional well-meaning public declarations are typically weak attempts to manage his reputation rather than sincere promises of commitment to his child's well-being, and these infrequent appearances offer little evidence of his real active participation in his son's life. This disparity is not only apparent, but it also begs serious concerns, as it suggests that the father is more concerned with upholding his reputation than meeting his family's needs. Saying yes occasionally is just one part of being a parent. Another is continuously offering the child active and emotional support. To now, however, Blueface's actions indicate a level of passivity that exacerbates the already unstable environment in which this young boy is growing up. His absence goes beyond basic neglect in that it sends a sad and subtle message to his son that he is not a priority. For example, when a child has emotional or developmental challenges, both parents need to give them stability and predictability. A father figure's seeming neglect can significantly impact a child's sense of security and self-worth. Furthermore, it's unclear whether Blueface is willing to accept the gravity of his son's situation given his hesitation in the face of growing worries. When a child is left to deal with difficulties on their own, and a parent fails to actively address and support their needs, confusion and instability may ensue. The emotional and psychological effects of such neglect are severe and long-lasting, and they frequently impact not only the child's emotional development, but also their future, relationships and ability to trust others. In public, he has sometimes minimized or sidelined the issue, missing important opportunities to advocate for his child's development and welfare. Blueface's disengagement impacts the pragmatic concerns of raising a youngster who may need additional attention. Scheduling regular activities that support growth, such as therapy sessions and doctor's visits. This obligation requires time, effort, and the ability to adjust and learn. Blueface's limited apparent involvement shows that he is not fully embracing these responsibilities, which puts undue burden on Mother Chrissy and could potentially endanger the child's chances of getting early help. The job of a father is not only biological. It also includes protection, presence, and involvement. The link between parents is weakened by Blueface's apparent inability to fully participate in his son's life, which also hinders the child's development. In order to co-parent successfully, both parents must work together. If one parent withdraws or avoids participation, the balance changes, resulting in a gap that may eventually cause the home to become more unstable. Blueface draws attention to a crucial subject. The baby lies between two parents who sometimes seem more concerned with maintaining their public personas than with the welfare of the very life they brought into the world. This lack of real parental support raises concerns about what will happen going forward if Blueface wants to make an impact and jeopardizes the child's chances of thriving. Are required. Words alone are insufficient. Because of the people who are in charge of his care, this youngster draws attention even though his life shouldn't have been a show or a stage for public discussion. There is still hope as long as both parents can take the required actions, own up to their faults, and provide their son with the assistance that he so obviously needs. The child may continue to suffer significantly, though, if they disregard the warning indications. The decisions that Chrissy and Blueface make in the upcoming months will now dictate the course of events. This story is far from over, as the internet continues to try to figure out how to help. The child is forced to live in isolation and silence, since those who should be nurturing and caring for him are neglecting him. The world is largely waiting to see if these individuals will take responsibility, assume leadership roles, and offer the help this child so desperately needs, or if they will continue to ignore them until the opportunity to save them expires.